Hello, and welcome to another On Point review. I am your host, John Pointer, and I am joined once again with my good friend Atticus. Thank you for joining us
Ah,
today, Atticus.
it's always a pleasure to come on here and talk about some films. Hello, if this is the first time you're tuning in, I am Dr. Atticus Fabergé, a professional doctor and an unprofessional but very well knowledged amateur film critic.
Yes, and today we're talking about the movie The Hunt, a very interesting movie, very
Hmm.
very intriguing, very full of intrigue. It's a little bit convoluted, but I'll try to explain. So there's
Yeah.
it's based on the old idea of like the most dangerous game, man. You know, the people are like captured and hunted for sport. Only they might not actually be captured, and it's all like a political thing, or it might not be a political thing. It's both like left-wing propaganda and right-wing propaganda, and it's also a bid to run for the presidency, and it's also to discredit themselves from running for president because of tax reasons. It's it's a very convoluted movie. Did you find yourself making much sense of it?
Well, thankfully, when someone is in my profession, you're able to follow a very intelligent script like this, even one that perhaps is a little too intelligent for just a regular feature film. And let me tell you, I was getting a little bit tired of the lack of politics in films nowadays. I needed a good, solid think piece, and I this tickled my brain like a feather under an armpit, if you pardon the expression.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of political commentary on both sides or any sides. There are all kinds of like political ideas that are just kind of injected into it that you kind of have to think about. Like, there's some like flat earther stuff. There's some like vaccine stuff, like UFO. Like there are no actual aliens that are shown on screen or anything, but there are a lot of people who say they believe in UFOs and like pyramids, and it gets there are a lot of ideas in this movie that kind of come and mesh together as all sort of this big conspiracy plot that's a conspiracy about a conspiracy about a conspiracy, and then the next thing you know, 2 hours have gone by.
It's a very intelligent way to spend 2 hours, or that many minutes if you're so inclined. And really, I was just pleased to see some of my favorite political commenters represented in this film. I mean, I've been waiting for a thriller like this, an intelligent thriller like this, with Hilary Swank at the forefront for decades, and I was not disappointed.
I am going to say going forward that this review is totally spoiler free.
Yes, absolutely.
But we are going to start talking a little bit more about the nitty gritty of the movie. Like, for instance, there are some like scenes that seem shocking at first, but then they kind of explain like where the character. I can't remember her name. She was kind of a minor character, but she looks very much like Hilary Swank. I think she was meant to be sort of like a sister or a doppelganger, but you can tell she's played by a different actor. And yeah, at one point they're like ambushed by the cops, and she fakes her own death by like, or you don't find later that until you don't find out until later that she faked her death, but she rips her own head off. And then later on, you just see her like holding a fake head in her hand, and it's like you thought that was real, and then she takes that head off, and that time it is real, or as far as we know, it's real. But it's like at the end of the movie, they kind of hint that she still has more heads or something. It's it's very it's very clever. It's full of twists.
Hmm. The post credit scene really was the one that got me. Not to say too much, but when they revealed that the Hydra woman was in fact an agent of Hydra from the Marvel Cinematic Universe film series,
Right.
it brought it all together and made some of those opening credits a little bit less confusing. And this is a film that lends itself to multiple viewings, because also, not to get too deep into the plot, but once you find out that the entire film was a farce, it was all actors just performing, fictional actors performing fictionally within the fiction we were watching. The layers present themselves with a whole new light when you enjoy the film a second time, as anyone should.
Hmm. And I think they were really trying to really trying to go for a meta kind of idea for this. Like the entire movie was just made to push a political agenda because like people on both sides of the American political system, as well as British and Egyptian, and there's a lot of sort of political figures all throughout the earth who actually have their fingers in the making of this movie. Like they were all trying to push sort of their own agenda into it, and it all comes out as this like really interesting sort of fusion of different concepts. And I think that this movie is going to get someone elected to a seat somewhere.
And only with the subtle hand that crafted this piece could such a thing be achievable. There are a lot of films that will beat you over the head with a message, but The Hunt, does not operate with a fist. The Hunt is a carefully articulated set of fingers, crafting a layered political narrative of politics that interweave politically with each other. In order to connect not just with politics, but also a political tone.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense to me that this movie was made by the same director who did The Purge, a really interesting movie that I had plans to go to see with my grandfather 2 days before he passed away. Unfortunately,
my condolences. My condolences.
Thank you. It was a long time ago, but we actually didn't end up seeing the movie because we stopped on the way to get some donuts, and the movie theater was closed because of ants, and so we never ended up getting to see it. But it's been kind of like an in-joke in our family. I'll remember how The Purge and the ants, and so now I feel like now that I've got to see this movie, it's like it's almost like this is me and my grandfather getting to finally see The Purge together, because there's a lot of grandfatherly figures in this movie that are kind of representative of different characters. You can kind of see like whenever one of the main characters kind of turns and looks in the mirror, they'll see like this old grandfatherly figure look back at them with like this knowing smile, and it's a really interesting sort of take on the genre.
Yeah, a lot of political media does not wish to engage with things like subtlety or metaphor, and The Hunt really cracks new ground with its flagpole as it planted in the soil of this cinematic landscape. Not to dig up some bad memories, but. If you do ever decide to go back and view The Purge, rest in peace, your grandfather. You might see a little bit of connective tissue between that film and what we saw here in The Hunt. That not to be too clever for you or the audience, but you might say that it hints at a war of infinity proportions.
Oh, okay. I see what you're getting at there. Well, those were our thoughts. We decided we're going to give this movie 3 points. That's going to be a lot of.
But before we get comments, I just want to say we give it a 3 with a lot of concentrated discussion off mic, as they say in the industry. Before you snap at us for our decision, please know we did give it great consideration before we landed at the 3.
Yes, absolutely. This was actually something that we've been talking about pretty much all day, because we saw the movie together, and then we went back to our respective families, but we just couldn't stop discussing it pretty much over like toast and over internet and over phone.
I don't mean to pull back the curtain here, but I hope people haven't been distracted by the clear fact that I'm recording this in my bathroom. I did not want to wait and take the time to get to the studio. I wanted to to nip this in the bud right now, like a good gardener does.
Yes, and although a lot of our discussions got really heated, I'm happy to say we are, of course, still friends. This is just like we just we get passionate about movies, but it's never anything personal. So I do want to say I apologize for the things that I said about your daughter Abigail. And she's a wonderful little girl, and I didn't mean to imply that she was being brainwashed, or that you wanted her to be a senator on the wrong side, or I don't even remember what I said. I kind of said a lot of things I didn't mean. So
speaking as a father, all I'll say is with my daughter, nothing you could say would necessarily be undeserved.
So, thank you once again for joining me, and thank you everyone for listening. And if you have your own opinions on this movie, we'd love to hear them. Leave a comment, follow us on Twitter, and have a great day.
And make sure you drink your orange juice.